It's amazing how fast technology is changing for us. We can now just order a coffee on our smartphones, delivered within 20 minutes, and we can order stuff from China through Amazon the next day. And we're seeing that in the EV world as well, with the old going out and the new coming in. I'm Dave, this is Dave Takes It On. Now I must admit, welcome Titans, I'm really getting used to my new studio. But here we are, I've got some great news for you. So first of all, let's start right down under in Australia. Down there, there's a bus manufacturing company, has been in business for 26 years. And this week, it's just announced it has made its last diesel bus. They've been making them for 26 years. They've got over 10,000 out on the roads. They've just stopped making them. And from now on, every single bus manufactured will be an EV, and that's going to save millions and millions of tons of carbon dioxide every year, as well as reducing running costs. It's amazing how the old is falling apart and the new is coming to the fore. We've just had an update from Volvo. They've announced that the ES90 and the EX90 models, all EVs obviously, will this winter be getting a free over-the-air update to V2G. This is vehicle to grid, not vehicle to load. This is vehicle to grid, the full works. So in other words, these cars will now be capable of running houses as well. And this is really good news, because so often manufacturers, EV manufacturers, particularly legacy ones, just use the over-the-air updates for essential bug fixes and nothing to the advantage of the driver. With Tesla, they've always been to the advantage of the driver, and they just slip in the bug fixes in the background. But this is Volvo now doing it. That's a big upgrade for Volvo drivers. I know it's the top of the range, but it's the start of something. And when over-the-air updates become norm, all cars will see these happening, and their cars will get better with time. They won't deteriorate. Now, still sticking with Volvo, well, we concentrate an awful lot on EVs. The HGVs or HGVs, whichever way we want to say it. This is the electric lorries, the all-electric lorries and vans. Volvo's just announced they've covered 105.6 million miles in their fleet. They have over 5,000 vehicles scattered around the world in 50 different countries, and between them, they've driven more than 1 million miles. And I have to say, for all the negatives out there, I don't think there's anyone out there would swap those back for the old diesel ones if they had the choice. Now, Scania don't want to get left out of the act, so they've just announced their own new platform. It will have charging of 750 kilowatts. New models coming out all the time. These are coming out for 2026. So the HGV side of the industry is now starting to get some real serious attention. Now, over in the US, absolute pandemonium and chaos as always. There's a bill going through the Senate at the moment trying to get all of the subsidies and incentives and bonuses and schemes for EVs cancelled. It's one of Trump's pledges that they have to stop. Now, I'd have no problem with that, but they are actually heavily subsidising the oil and the gas and the coal industries. So it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to subsidise the outgoing industry and cancel all subsidies on the incoming one. Just doesn't make any sense to me. When he was in term last time, 2016, 2020, then he said coal, yeah, we're going to resurrect the coal industry, blah, blah, blah. Massive bills passed, personal, whatever he calls them, executive orders, everything. Yeah. The coal industry has still collapsed, and the problem is there's very few coal-fired power stations left, and the fuel is now one of the most expensive fuels that you can get. And while it's great for the government to say drill, 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 or drill, baby, drill, the reality is coal and oil are now some of the dearest fuels out there, and the cheapest ones are the solar panels, the wind, and the batteries. It is going to hit the industry, but with the price differential at the moment between oil and coal and the renewables, it's still going to head down the way of the renewables. There's no doubt about that. And also some of the states have their own rules, which will override the federal rules. So we'll see a slowdown in the industry, but that's pretty much it. The way forward is renewables and battery storage. That's the way we're going. It is interesting to note that a large number of senators have actually petitioned the president asking him not to do this. And presumably it's because they have factories in their state which are going to be hit by whatever he's planning. This applies to the big beautiful bill and this new one getting rid of all the incentives. So there's a lot of people not very happy about it. Are they prepared to vote against him? Almost certainly not. He is an absolute brutal dictator, and he's got all of his senators absolutely under control. And so these things are going to go through. The big question, though, is how much of an impact is it going to have? It's all very well saying we're going to shut down the incentives and everything else. But even without incentives, EVs are now starting to look sensible because the legacy auto cars, the ICE cars, are now being hit with tariffs. So whatever was the price differential before, it's now being loaded onto the ICE cars and the incentive taken off the EVs. So we're getting a balancing and we're heading towards price parity anyway. And at price parity, customers will have a free choice, buy an EV, buy a petrol, doesn't make any difference, they're going to be the same price. They're also talking about price parity in the used car market over in the States. They're just about there at the moment. In May, the last month we have figures for, June figures aren't out yet. In May, they found that the average price of the average used car sold for ICE cars was 34 and a bit thousand, and for EVs was 36,000. So it's now a very different situation where when you go into a used dealership, you can now choose what you want, and price doesn't actually drive your decision. The best-selling car in May last year was actually Model 3. There's loads of these now coming in off leases, some of them coming in also off Hertz. So these are coming on the market, and the best-selling car in May in America was a Model 3, and that was priced at 23,500. So that's probably 2, 3, maybe even a 4-year-old car. We didn't get the details for that. Now looking at new EV sales as a whole, 1st of July, yeah, I'm filming on the 1st of July. We're not going to have the June figures yet. Some of the latest figures we're getting for the last week in June, but we haven't got the overall figures. But the biggest market in the world is China. About 2/3 of all the new EVs are sold in China. And so we have the figures from China for last week, and it shows that NIO, XPeng saw massive growth. They were 17% and 36% respectively. Tesla saw a massive growth, 49.9% month on month. And BYD showed a drop of 6%. There's a lot going on with BYD. From their figures, it's looking like they're selling a lot of cars at a loss just to establish market dominance. And that, of course, can only go on for a certain amount of time before you just run out of money. So it's one we need to watch. Now, the initial indications are that new sales are booming at the moment. ICE sales are falling. There's been a big drop in overall sales, so less people are buying new cars, but less people are buying the petrol and diesel cars than the EVs, which is booming at the moment. So we're seeing an overall drop in the market, but a much bigger drop in ICE and a growth in the EVs. Plug-in hybrids and hybrids are in the middle. Some of those are showing a bit of a growth. In the UK, the plug-in hybrid is now starting to tail off. Incentives are disappearing for that. I was stopped off for a comfort break in a motorway services, and right in front of me, when I was standing at my cubicle, there was a leasing company, and it showed you a particular car, and it says hybrid, plug-in hybrid, 575 miles per gallon. And you know, if you fill the tank and charge the battery and set off, there is no way you're going to get 575 miles to the gallon on that. It's probably going to come down to 20 or 30, which is where they all are, maybe 40 if you're really lucky. Those adverts are so misleading. People look at those and they go, 575 miles to the gallon, that's got to cost me nothing to run. Now, The ads are in effect legal because if every night you charged it up at the cheap overnight rates you can get with someone like Octopus OVO or EDF, and only ran it on a short run, 10, 20 miles, on the battery, then effectively your total cost of running that car forever is going to be the price you pay on the overnight off-peak tariff, and therefore it could well be the equivalent of 575 miles to the gallon. It's totally misleading because half the people who get a plug-in hybrid never actually plug it in. Of the rest, many of them plug it in once or twice, too much hassle, and they will just go back to filling it full of petrol, particularly if it's a company car and they don't care who pays what. So that's all coming to an end. The government has finally spotted this and they're changing the way the PHEVs are tested in order to get a much more accurate picture of what they would actually do out there in the real world. And that's what we want as drivers. We don't want this, it'll do 575 miles to the gallon. When we get it, it does 31. What's going on? And yet that's totally legal. So all this is changing, but the UK at the moment, Tesla's out way in front, Model Y, Model 3. It's interesting to note that these are actually competing with each other. Used to be Model Y was a clear and away winner. It's not anymore. Throughout the rest of Europe, disaster in Germany, as I reported in the last bulletin, but Spain, massive growth in Spain. Italy, France, it's all really starting to take off. And the smaller petrol cars, they're really starting to struggle at the moment, because if you look at something like a Nissan Micra, for example, you're talking of SPAR 15 to 20,000 pounds, and for that you can get yourself a really nice EV of a very similar size or possibly a little bit bigger. And by the way, in the UK, the first of the BYD Dolphin Surf are now scheduled for arrival, and they've announced the price. Base model £18,600, and some of the top of the range is like 21, 22,000. These are going to change the dynamics in the UK as well. So around the world, it seems to be everything's up in arms about the tariffs, but life goes on, but at a very much slower pace. So that's it for now. Just a short bulletin trying to keep you up to date. Some of my thoughts being added to it so you know where we stand. So I'm going to have to get in the shelter. This is getting much too hot. That's looking very exciting and enticing out there. So maybe that's where I'm going to be headed next. So thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, click the like button. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe. Big thank you as always to our Patreon and YouTube members. There's a lot of goodies there for you. So if you're interested, have a look at the details down below. I'm Dave.